Hello and welcome back to the worst Warmachine channel on the internet. We're coming back with a second video this week because my Content Overlord, Darrell Duncan, has a topic. Of course, the Content Overlords from there in Patreon, they get to pick a topic every single month that I have to cover. So this is a bonus one tagged right in there. And what Darrell Duncan wanted me to cover was the latest dynamic update that changed the way that Colossals, Gargantuans, Colossal horrors now work. And so really just kind of, first of all, summarizing what was the change, and then going forward just be like, okay, does this mean we're going to be seeing more Colossals and stuff like that on the table? So I think the very first spot that I want to start is I'm going to show what we had before. We'll talk about what changed, and then we'll get into more of that after. So if we look into Colossals, there's a lot of rules around the Colossal card, but there's only two of them that really matter for like these immunities that they're going to be having. So the first one here is going to be Great Machine. So a Colossal, and I'm going to stop saying Gargantuan and this other stuff. It's all in the same pool. I wish, in fact, they would not make all these things different, but whatever. It's the big, huge base, big boys that are out there. Now, what Great Machine says is that a Colossal never suffers disruption. A Colossal can never gain advanced deployment, incorporeal, or stealth. So just a lot of things of, we don't want you disrupted and being able to not do very much. We don't want you getting up there really fast, getting AD. Although I don't believe in the current rules there's any way to give it AD. In Mark II, there were some like themes that added it. I don't think there's even anything there anymore. So I think this is kind of like a holdover. Incorporeal, that'd be kind of crazy if they could be incorporeal. And then the last thing, stealth. Again, that'd be pretty crazy if they're stealth and just couldn't be shot by most of the game. So some balancing stuff there for sure. The second rule that really matters is massive. And again, these rules could have been all in the same. They didn't need to break these things up. But anyway, what massive says is that a Colossal cannot be pushed, knocked down, or made stationary. A Colossal cannot be moved by a slam or throw, and a Colossal cannot be affected by Grievous Wound special rule. And in fact, this is an addition from last time, right? The last dynamic update that had things improved for these Colossals was making it so they could be Grievous as well. So again, just making sure that these big, huge, towering Colossals are not being knocked down, stationary, and any of that stuff. They're big and sturdy, and this thing doesn't really affect them. And it kind of goes both ways too, because if they could be placed, oh boy, if you have a TK caster, there's an extra threat on your storm wall, blockade, or whatever we're talking about. So, you know, it's a little bit of defensive tech, but at the same time, it also makes sure that you're not doing any other crazy things as well to really ramp these things up. All right, so with all of these things here, that's what we had there before. A lot of protections for what a Colossal is and what you can't do to it. Now, if we move to the dynamic update here, it had some other stuff in there. This is the August rulebook update in errata that came out on August 20th. And what it says here has some stuff about like rules of least disturbance. This was a really silly thing that was going on. I'm not going to tie that into this video here. But then there's a Colossal rules update. And again, there's a Gargantuan rules update and a Colossal horrors rules update. And that part was actually more needed, actually, to be fair, of why this is coming out, is because they had Colossals and Gargantuans. And now that you have this big thing for your Infernals, what are they? Are they Gargantuans? Are they Colossal Infernals? So now they're Colossal horrors. Again, I wish you would all just kind of like bundle these underneath the same sort of like rules group, but why not? Let's just do this 3 times. So what they really changed here is saying that other than the rule for massive, Great Machine was also updated. The new text is as follows: can't suffer disruption, can't get AD, can't be incorporeal, can't be stealth. And now on top of it, a model cannot be forced to voluntarily forfeit its normal movement or combat action except to aim. Now, this has some very important things of why this was done. Some of the things that they say in here why it was done was to stop things like, especially when you talk about the gargantuan stuff down below, the dev notes talk about things like paralysis. And this was kind of a really weird thing. Like, here's all these big, huge, super mega monsters, and you can't knock us down, you can't slam us, you can't push us, can't do any of these things. However, there's this one theme. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's pretty minor. It's called Strange Bedfellows. And they get these angels. I think they pay lots of points for them. Oh, no, they're free. They're an absolute just free rec option. And you have your option of either shooting something and having critical paralysis or just punching them. And it's pretty easy to hit these huge bases and just getting straight up paralysis. And that's a pretty big deal, having that paralysis on a pretty big model like this. So that was weird that this big, huge, strong thing, a little angel, just be like, ding, and like, well, I guess I can't do very much. So now this is counteracting some of that, saying, aha, you can't go and make me forfeit. That part I'm all for. It was ridiculous. They should not have been able to paralyze these massive gargantuans and now colossal horrors. So thumbs up. Some of the other little dev notes in here, we're talking about how they're stopping things being like stranglehold. So it says, this ensures that these extremely expensive centerpiece models cannot be affected or effectively negated by a single spell. And it says, looking at you, stranglehold. Now, you might be baffled by that, much like I am, because, stranglehold is this thing where a model damaged by stranglehold forfeits its normal movement or its combat action. Now, this is a spell that really has a lot of danger, right? If I want to cast this, unless I have some lucky arc nodes, I'm getting in range of your Colossal, right? This is not a cheap spell. I'm going to go and do this one, and then I have to damage you or else it does nothing, right? So this is POW 11. I'm probably going to want to have to boost the damage to make sure this happens. I'm probably also boosting the hit, because if this fails, I'm really putting a lot of eggs in my basket and my caster could just be sitting there. And even then, I could boost my damage and I might not even damage you. And then it was all for nothing. All this focus, like, not only are you not taking any damage, but I need you to take at least one so that you're forced to forfeit these things. So it was already kind of a risky spell. And then who can take this? This is probably like casters all over the place, right? Well, you had Iacos, you had Dawnlord Vyros, you had Osram, and okay, there's a fair amount of Osram out there. They are not casting any strangleholds. Osram's focus is already being well used in a lot of other places. There's two different Doom Shapers that had it. Thyra has it. Wormwood, okay, has some play, has some arc nodes. I can maybe see some Wormwood stuff going out there, but at least around here, I haven't been seeing it doing anything crazy like that. And then also on Xerxes. Now, man, this Stranglehold thing, I feel, is a very weak addition. But, apparently somewhere out there, probably the Wormwoods of the world, were just strangleholding these things like crazy and just like, please damage that thing. And apparently it was working, and they're winning big tournaments because this had to be changed and called out by Privateer Press. Now, you might be thinking it's weird that I'm getting upset about this part of it, but the reason why I'm upset is actually the other one, because probably the other main spot where this matters is going to be Haley 2. Now, Haley 2 used to be crazy powerful, and there's been nerfs and nerfs and nerfs, and this one is really hurts. So it says on here that, it is making Haley 2 less powerful, but they'll be correcting that soon. We'll see. I'll wait to see what you do with her, but already having her feat, making it so that's random, we're seeing how many things we can affect, and now, the number one thing that I need to affect, the opponent's big, huge Colossal or Colossals on the other side, I no longer can make them have to forfeit their movement or their action. That's a real big problem. And so I really do feel that they lumped too much into this. I feel that the real thing that they were trying to do with this is, sure, you saw some gargantuans that were out there and they were being paralyzed, and that was silly and funny, but a lot of people aren't even taking gargantuans. However, there's a brand new release that just came out, and that is the new Colossal horrors for Infernals. And I think Privateer Press wants these to sell. I think that if they were to not deal with this, that would be a strike against them. Probably a meme going around of all these huge crabs just being touched by a tiny angel and being like, oh, I'm paralyzed, right? And so, okay, let's just get rid of that thing. So I do feel like this was something brought on to sell models, but let's think positively about the idea that this was also done to make things make more sense, and that probably these things shouldn't have been paralyzed anyway. Now, wrapping in these other things like Stranglehold and Haley 2's feet, maybe that's because they didn't want to just call out paralyze. You know, if you just say the rule paralyze, what if there's other things in there, I can kind of see. But man, the way that this rolls out, it really then catches Haley 2, and to be honest, Signar's not really doing great right now. One of the things that's really helping out Signar stay afloat is actually Haley 2. And so this nerf to that caster, it's a real problem. It's a real problem. So hopefully Privateer Press does actually go through with what they said here. It'll be changing Haley 2 really quickly. I don't know in what way they're going to be doing that, but let's go. Now, that's the rule coverage of what really happened. The other thing that Darrell wanted me to cover, though, is are we going to be seeing more huge bases now? Colossals, rather. And Gargantuans and Colossal horrors. So, to answer the question, yes. Is this going to be changing anything for your regular Colossals? Not really, right? I mean, so for all the things you saw out there before for Colossals, you know, you would see your blockaders and stuff like that. Even in a meta with Haley 2, people were taking them anyway. So yeah, those Colossals are still going to be taken. The Gargantuans, still very expensive. The update they needed was actually something to bring down their points to make them viable, being compared to taking some beasts instead. So I don't see randomly being like people like, aha, finally, now that I can't be paralyzed, now I'm going to be taking out all of my desert hydras and my, earth kings and all these types of stuff, right? Like that's not what's happening here, right? So unfortunately, I don't see any changes there for hordes, but again, where you are going to be seeing this is with those colossal horrors. When I first saw these models, I thought like, you're probably better off taking some tormentors. The more I've seen them, yeah, it's worth taking these, maybe even 2 in the right list. Right now, some locals are playing with 3. That's really too silly. You probably just want 1. In really rare cases, maybe 2, but this is a new powerful tool for Infernals, and you're going to be seeing these. And again, I feel that they made these changes to make them more viable, right? They spent a lot of time making these sculpts, hyping them up with that art that they did, rolling them out, and they don't want a meme of like a crab being paralyzed, stopping everything. So I feel that was their main idea. Haley 2 is an unfortunate bystander, but I don't foresee anything else really changing. Like I said, I don't expect to be being like, oh, you know what? I'm going to start taking out my Earthbreaker and my Galleon and all these other things that weren't really popular. They're not going to rise up and be super popular now, right? I believe the numbers for all of the Colossals and the Gargantuans will not change because of this. It's really the same thing as the last update, right? I told you that the last time the big update was that now they can't get Grievous anymore, and that the Grievous wounds couldn't go out there. And sure, it was kind of silly when you'd have Alton just be like, boo, you can't be healed now, but it didn't really change anything, right? And them making that rule change didn't really do anything to do very much there at all. So I don't expect to see this to do that either. I expect them to sell a whole bunch of Colossal horrors, and that's really it. So if nothing else, if you see this and you're like, oh boy, what does this change? I better go and learn this. No, stop that. Go into your war room, go over to Infernals and see what the new Colossal horrors are, because those will be showing up in those games, and Agathon and Omo and all that stuff. So that's what you should be going to go check out, because they were coming anyway, and now they were just made a little bit stronger. So there you go. There is the update of what changed and what I expect to be happening happening because of it. Again, thank you, Darrell, for your support as one of my content overlords. For all of my other supporters, I believe you're also awesome too. Don't worry, don't forget any of you. And all of you watching, I don't care if you're a supporter or not, you're also awesome. So there you go. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments on what I said, please post it down below. But otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.